We're going to look at Punnett squares again, and I just want to go over with each of you what each of these things mean and what's actually going on in each of the problems, because so you don't mess up or miss anything. So first of all, notice at the top you have something in red. This tells you what is the trait that we're looking at. Underneath that, you're going to see two different descriptions and letters. So notice that in this problem, we're going to be using the letter G. The dominant gene, or the capital letter, is going to be standing for green. And the recessive, or the lowercase letter, is going to be standing for yellow. So we have big G and little g. So it's really important that you're using those when you're setting up your problem. So everything in this box here has to do with the parents. And that's one of your vocab words, talking about the P generation. Remember that the genotype means the letters, and we're going to base that based on these two words here. And the phenotype means what do the two parents look like. And so let's focus on the descriptions that you're given. So in this problem, you're given that you have a heterozygous parent times another heterozygous parent. So the first thing you need to think about, and this is why it's so important to know your vocabulary, is what does hetero mean? So hetero means different. So if we know that hetero means different, we now need to look at the genes that they gave us, and we need to look at the different alleles. So remember that alleles are the different forms of the gene. We know that capital G means green, and lowercase g means yellow. And the only way they can be different is if we have one big and one little allele. So now that we know what heterozygous means, we can now look at the genotype and fill in this next line. So the only way we can have heterozygous genotypes is to have one big G and one little g. And notice that both parents are heterozygous, so this parent is also going to be big G, little g. Remember, at any time you can pause the video and fill in your own or take your own notes, depending on what it is that was going to work with you best. Okay, now that we know what the parent's genotype looks like, we now need to figure out what they actually look like. What is their phenotype? So remember, phenotype is their description or what they look like. So remember, when you have one of each, the law of dominance says that it's the dominant one that's expressed, or the dominant one that's seen. So the big G here stands for green. So we're going to put green peas. And then this parent also has one big and one little. So again, we're going to have green peas for their phenotype as well. So we're crossing two green peas. If you remember, the other two laws, the law of independent assortment and the law of segregation, talk about how these gametes that are formed from the parent's genes are going to separate and independently separate during meiosis or gamete formation. And so basically what we're going to do is we're going to take one parent and we're going to put them across the side, and another parent, we're going to put them across the top. So make sure you keep these two together and these two together. Now in this case, it doesn't matter, but usually it does. And then we're going to bring each one down and each one across to show what would happen with fertilization. So again, if you have a big one and a little one, you're going to always write the big letter first. Now, remember, the whole point of the Punnett square is to show what are all the possibilities, what are the possibilities and probabilities of having each type of child. And so it's 1 out of 4 or 2 out of 4 or all out of 4. So over here, we're now, the F1 is going to be the offspring of the P generation. We're going to write their genotype and ratio. So notice we have 3 different letter combinations. So genotype means letter combination. So we need to write 1 big G, to 2 big G, little g, to 1 little g. And then we're going to write, what do they look like? And notice these 3 all look the same. We have 3 green to 1 yellow. We could also do this in percentages as well.